Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the fourth episode of the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. Today's guest is Peter Lackner. Peter is the managing partner at JobsinJapan.com and has had management level positions at major job boards in Japan, including Career Cross, Gaijin Pot, etc. Now, we talk today to Peter about hiring good staff, retaining staff, and business in Japan. I had a really great chat with Peter. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you enjoy it too.
Hey everyone, buckle up for a new episode of the EFL Magazine Business Podcast, the one and only podcast made to help you launch your business or take your existing business to a level of success you could never have imagined. Whether you're a school owner, freelancer, publisher, or other entrepreneur, you're sure to pick up lots of actionable advice when you listen to the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. Remember to visit EFLmagazine.com for great articles and features. Without further ado, here's your host, the founder of EFL Magazine, Philip Pound.
So it's my great pleasure to introduce Peter Lackner, who runs JobsinJapan.com. Peter, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for having me.
And a nice winter's day we're having today.
Yeah. So that's it. Hope it's COVID-free for everyone.
And on the subject of COVID, how are things COVID-wise with your business and you?
Actually, it's rebounding a bit. So last year, things were going great, and then COVID hit, and then some of Jobs in Japan covers all industries, not just English teachers. But you would imagine from the beginning, the industries that were hit, like the travel and tourism industry, so you don't get tour guides because no one's coming in. Mm-hmm. So that industry was just decimated. Then the restaurant ones got hit. And then people couldn't come into Japan. So it was, it was pretty interesting. But the ALT market, that's assistant language teachers that are at the high schools, that's still strong now because they don't have to worry about market forces. That's paid by the boards of education. Mm-hmm. Through the dispatch companies and all that. Corporate training has been hit really hard because the first thing that goes are the corporate training budgets. Mm-hmm. And then because more and more companies are allowing the teleworking or telecommuting or working at home, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. So if you're working for a Japanese company and say, hey, why don't you want to come in on Tuesdays for your English lesson? It's like, no, thanks. Mm-hmm. So the corporate English training, they're hurting as well. But kids lessons, classes and all that, online is still strong, and the ALT is still very strong now.
Okay, great. Peter, if you don't mind, I'd like to actually rewind a little bit and find a little bit more out about you, and tell me a little bit about your background, where you're from, and how you got to Japan and running Jobs in Japan.
Okay, sure. I'm in my 50s now, but I came to Japan some 25 or plus years ago. I was an English teacher when I first got here because that's the easiest way to get to Japan as an English teacher. But unfortunately, the school that I went to gave literally no training whatsoever. So I guess you could say I was a fraud as a teacher because my only teaching was, hey, see this guy, Brad? He's the teacher that's leaving in 4 days. Why don't you sit on his classes and see what he's doing? And so this was pre-internet, so there weren't many resources. Unfortunately, your site wasn't around at the time.
Thank you, Peter. And I just put Peter's site is JobsinJapan.com, all one word. So we want to get this stuff in here. I'm just new to this podcasting.
Yeah, but that's fine. But it's I came over as a teacher, and it didn't work out because I had no support, and I just felt bad as a teacher. I felt like a failure because I was doing a disservice to all the people I was teaching. Sure, I'm a native speaker, but being a native speaker and being a teacher are two completely different things. I could help them with their pronunciation and tell them when they were saying something incorrectly, but why it should be said one way and all that, no. It was a dumpster fire for me being a teacher. But no, then I went over and I did some other things. I went into sales and I have a sales background and also a trade fair management company.
Oh, okay.
And so, but then, I was doing trade fair management and I got hired by a company called Career Cross to do they wanted an event department to do job fairs and all this. And that's how I got into the job fair business. And after Career Cross, I was the sales director at G Plus Media, which runs Gaijin Pot. So you guys might know that one. And from about 4 years ago, I've been doing, I revamped the Jobs in Japan website, and I've been running that ever since.
Wow. And some of you may know, I know they're a competitor, but I'll mention them anyway, Peter.
Sure.
Gaijinpot.com. It's I think it's probably, is it the biggest site for foreigners in Japan?
Well, foreigners, like English speaking foreigners that want a job. They're still bigger than Jobs in Japan for now. No, but no, I spent 5.5, 6 years there helping build it up. So no, it's a good site. I like them. They're great people. I just think my site's better.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. And you wanted to do your own thing.
Yeah, I wanted to do my own thing. Yeah.
And I know at the time, in Japan, there are a few sites. There is your site, obviously, jobsinjapan.com and Gaijin Pot. And there's a few other, Ohio Sensei, isn't there? And
yeah, that's a free listing site. And that's just like an email magazine. And there's a few others.
So the site itself for Jobs in Japan, it was kind of dormant. Is that fair enough to say? I mean,
Jobs in Japan was actually the oldest job site for foreigners. It goes back before like Gaijin Pot, Dai Job, and all those. But it was more like a free listing site. So they had even like the Sayonara sales, and it was almost like a Craigslist before Craigslist came to Japan for foreigners. So it was. Had everything on there, not just jobs. But no, it was a free listing site. But with free listing sites, you can't give any, how do I say, you can't make a real website with the functionality that employers wanted. So yeah, when I left Gaijin Pot, they were bought out by the original owners were bought out by a large Japanese company, and I didn't like how they were running things, and I wanted to do things differently. So I just met with the guy that founded Jobs in Japan, and we came to an agreement that we work together to make a better site. There's some things I want to do differently, and it's we have some great new functions that we think are better for both the job seeker and the employer.
Okay. Well, we'll go into that
later.
Yeah, we'll go into that in a while. So without giving away too many secrets here, and I mean, when you looked at jobsinjapan.com and you sat down, what did you think? I mean, how did you think you were going to turn this around? What potential did you see in the site?
Well, I've always known jobsinjapan.com from when it was a free listing site, and it was never really a competitor to Gaijin Pot. And I just kept looking, it's like, what a waste. Geez, this could be revamped into something great. And so I could see the potential right there. And I could see some areas where Gaijin Pot wasn't hitting the market needs. So yeah, it was just one of those. I guess if you're like a restaurateur and you see this like great location for a restaurant or someone who's doing things wrong, it's like, geez, I could really make a go of that.
But don't you think it's a little bit more difficult now to start a recruitment website or to run a recruitment website, because the barrier to entry is much lower, isn't it? I mean, Peter, I worked in a recruitment website maybe 10, 15 years ago. And, at that time, WordPress was not such a thing. And, it was very expensive and you needed a lot of technical knowledge. Now, I mean, you just buy a URL and a theme and away you go. I mean,
so anybody can make a WordPress site, and a lot of people do, and there's even a lot of job sites that are basically Facebook groups that they want to do that, but those aren't if you don't know the industry. And so I've known the English teaching industry, and I knew all the players in the market and all this, and without their support and knowing what the real needs are, you're not going to succeed. It's like if I went into a different industry, it's not like, oh, geez, I can make a job site and then just puts like your banner out and make a site. It's going to fail. So just like if I were to start an English school, being a non-trained teacher, no, I'd fail with that as well.
Mm-hmm. And what are the needs of employers in the market? So our listeners, we're talking to entrepreneurs, school owners, business owners, and I'm sure there are some universal problems people have with hiring. Well, what do you see are some of the issues employers might have in the ELT market?
Well, in the ALT market, so first of all, there's not enough qualified teachers out there, and so that's one of the big things. And but yeah, I think just the whole hiring process is a pain.
Mm.
And so it's how to make that easier and for both the job seeker and the employer. So because a lot of the job seekers, they're busy or lazy. Take your pick, and they just do a copy and paste to any school. And so all these employers are, because they've seen so many of these applications that look alike, and it's like, does this person just want any job, or they want my job? And yeah, so how to make a good match, because yeah, a lot of these job seekers just doing the spray and pray method. And while the employers are looking for someone that is buying into their corporate culture, that they're trainable and all this. So there's a big mismatch on what just an advertising model is doing.
And what does a good applicant look like? I mean, from getting resume, CV, through to interview. I mean, what are some encouraging signs for an employer to look for?
Okay, it's actually funny you say that, because just about a month ago, I did a seminar with TAPE, TAIP, Tokyo Association of International Preschools, for the school owners and all this, on basically how to hire better and how to avoid hiring a toxic, disgruntled foreign teacher and things like that. But no, a few things. And when so just even the cover letter, most of everybody uses the same copy paste for the cover letter. So is it explaining like why this person wants to work for you? How they're basically, the cover letter is written. So just, yeah, are they putting something from the job description in there, and how they can add value? Are they going to be able to be trained? Just because someone's a great teacher doesn't mean they're going to be a good fit in an organization. So where do they, yeah, basically, how can they add value?
Okay. And you mentioned trainable as well. And that's something you mentioned in your own career and your own experience as an English teacher in Japan. What is the situation with training in Japan? What percentage of companies offer it? What is the quality of training? What are the options available for?
Well, there's a number of different places you can get training. Well, first, there's in-house training, which you should always be doing, and mentoring and all this. So you'll know the good schools and the bad ones, because the good schools, they retain their teachers for a very long time. Because they do have something in place to get professional development, mentoring, and all that, and also giving some freedom. So once your teachers, treating them like adults, and that they are the lifeblood of your company. A couple examples of this is one of my favorite schools in Yamagata Prefecture. It's called My English School. Yeah, it's kind of a corny name, but anyways, on the first day, the owner gives all the teachers a key to the school. Hey, you're an adult. Yeah, no, it's like, well, not to all the schools, but yeah, just like you treat them like adults. And there's always ongoing professional development, and making sure that if you don't have a CELTA or a TESOL certificate when you join, that you will have one within your first year, and just keep building them up. Another interesting thing is, you might know DMA, D Morgan Academy. There was it's now the Rosetta Stone learning centers here in Japan.
I do, yeah. I actually, Ian Simpson, who I interviewed the other day, mentioned Dean as well. So sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, fantastic
Yeah.
guy. And he's, but his corporate culture is basically, it says students second. which means even though you have like the customer is God, the customer is always right now, but no, he's like, no, we're going to treat our teachers with the respect that they deserve. And if you basically, this is not like some new concept, like you treat your employees as you would like them to treat your best customers. It's the same way. You treat your teachers very well, and you train them, and they'll stay. And so it's not rocket science. It's just that people don't do it. Yeah, it's no. If you treat them well, and then they're going to go out of their way because they feel they're buying into the culture. They feel important and all this. So yeah, it's the way it's the way to run your business.
And tell me a little bit about starting a business in Japan. So you mentioned a little bit about the type of company that you have. So for somebody, and this may be relevant to other countries as well. But
well, if you're running an English school, you really don't need a company. You can run it as a basically run business as a sole proprietor and all this. That's fine for most of the companies. And depending on that, how you do your accounting, there's different withholding taxes and all that. That's fine. Most of the companies in Japan are called a KK, Kabushiki Gaisha, which is a stock, basically a stock company where you can issue shares and all that. Mine is a GK, which means Godo Gaisha, which is similar to the U.S. Version of LLC, and it may be holding companies. So for that, there's no stockholders or anything like that. So basically, I would be called the managing partner. So it's just partners in the company.
Oh, okay.
And the founder is the other partner.
And what's the advantage of that company or that structure versus?
It's just say a stock company. You're going to have a shareholders meeting, and it's a little bit harder to run. And all of this. The reason I took the GK is most of the companies are very easy to set up and all this, but my situation is I knew somebody in the human resources industry that basically closed down his company. But he left it like as a shelf company. He left it idle and all this. But so he had a company that he wasn't doing anything with. It had no debt, but it had losses. And it cost money to actually close down a company. So I would just said, I took a look and made sure there were no skeletons in the closet. Well, instead of you paying money to close down this company, why don't we just, I buy it from you. And so I had losses that I could carry forward and save on taxes that way. So it was a little bit, it was good for both of us. So, and I made a big deal with him. So it wasn't anything special that I wanted GK over KK. It's just that it was monetarily better because I could basically, take the losses that the company incurred in early years against future profits of the company.
I always think about when you look at starting a company in Japan. I'm not sure in the US, but let's say in Ireland, for example, where I'm from, I think it's often rated as the easiest place in the world to start a company. It's like in the top 5 or top 2 or 3, and to start a company in Ireland, I mean, even a limited company would be €50. You pay €50 and you submit your form and that's it. But in Japan, it's a little bit more expensive, isn't it?
Yes and no. So you can actually establish a KK Kabushiki Gaisha for ¥1, but then you'll have to have the paid in capital at a certain amount of time down the road. But then if you make a $1 company, good luck getting somebody to rent you office space or anything like that. So it's not, but no, there are some monies for the different registration fees for the government and all that. So probably basically you could probably start a company from between like $3,500 to about $6,000 US to get everything, getting an accounting company to set everything up properly for you. Yeah, so it's not expensive. So if that's a barrier for you opening a company, just you're not there yet.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to go a little bit back. Just a couple of questions on entrepreneurship as our listeners would be interested in, probably interested in hearing about your mindset and
Mm-hmm.
your day-to-day routine,
Mm-hmm.
what works for you, how to be successful in your company. So what's your motivation, Peter, to running
Um,
your company?
Oh, geez, my motivation. It's actually fun to run a company. So no, you get to make the decisions yourself. But then again, there's nobody else to blame but yourself.
Mm,
No, yeah, you just look at it. It's like, I want to do something differently and all that. So I'm not one of these, I don't think I have the entrepreneur personality and all that.
mm,
When I was at companies, I'm a better number two man than a number one guy.
mm.
I always kind of like doubt myself. Is this the right way to go? And all this. I have some ideas, but yeah, I don't have that confidence that you see is oozing out of a lot of these entrepreneurs and all this. But yeah, I thought I could do something better than the company I was at. And yeah, it was just the timing was right.
And it's often that, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of books written about, mindset and visualization and strategy, but actually just there's a lot of luck involved, isn't there?
Luck or just circumstances.
Mm,
Because the company that when I was working for G Plus Media, Gaijin Pot, so if the owners had not sold, I would probably still be there today because I had a really good relationship with the owners.
mm,
Our thinking was on par and all this. We were thinking about the same things, and we were growing the company. Everything was good, but the new owners was a very large Japanese conglomerate. It's a huge company.
mm,
They didn't know much about the foreign market or the job hunting scene, and the mindset changed from, hey, let's be a bridge from Japan to the world and help employers, help foreigners, do some good things and make some money along the way, to basically, here are your targets. Your targets just got raised, hit these monetary targets.
mm,
Then I knew, even with this company, because we were a subsidiary and not part of the head office, that the how you say the pain and suffering in my position would just get worse,
mm.
because as a sales director, and then I didn't see the future for making more money and a better future for myself. And like, no, I'm just going to bail and see what I can do on my own.
So it kind of comes back to what you said about treating employees well.
Yeah, they didn't treat me unfairly. As you can see in the future that, yeah, I could have made a jump to another company and all that and been an employee, but I just, yeah, I thought, oh, well, maybe I'll just give it a go. Because I could always go back and get a job as in, how you say, another job board or a recruiting company, or even in any sales organization, because I sold everything from IT services to, yeah, I sold everything. So yeah, most companies are willing to hire a sales guy. Yeah, if you make more money than you cost them, then that's a good
Sure.
thing.
Sure, yeah. And it kind of brings back a lot of memories working in sales over the years, and what you say about companies coming in and raising targets, and even mid-months. I same thing happened to me. We had a particular target, and in the middle of the month says, "Oh no, actually your target has gone up for the end of the month." So
Yeah,
yeah, so that happens.
yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes the goalposts get changed a little bit.
Mm,
Yeah. So, but yeah, it happens, and no, and I don't blame the parent company that bought out Gaijin Pot, because you don't buy a company to make less money, and so they're going to see where it can go. Yeah.
yeah,
So it
exactly.
just wasn't. It was time.
Yeah, yeah, and that comes a little bit to making the jump, and
Hmm.
I've experienced this as well. I worked in kind of corporate jobs, and I worked in my silo, my cubicle, whatever
Hmm.
you call it, and compartmentalized as a salesperson, and I'd always wanted to make the leap, and when I came and come to Japan and start my own thing, and what I found most daunting is, and I think a lot of business books say this as well, is that I did a sales thing. Some person starts a company, they come from an accounting background,
Hmm.
and then they find, oh my God, the accountant has to become a salesperson. The salesperson has to become an accountant, and as you mentioned earlier, it's all on you.
Yeah.
The buck stops with you.
Hmm.
Tell me a little bit about that process. Was it a shock or how did you adjust?
Um, no, because most of the stuff you can outsource, and for me, doing a lot of that stuff would be just very it wouldn't be productive because no, you can hire an accountant. And basically for example, the blog section, I hire writers to do that. You can do that. I hire some people that are younger and more in tune with the demographics of the site. I found an IT person. I outsourced the IT. The guy is fantastic. Designers and all this. And actually, that's where I see a lot of the new English schools, I say, going under because in my database, I probably have more schools that have gone bankrupt than restaurants.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because if you think about, well, you're married. Are you married to a Japanese?
Yes.
Okay, so a lot of the people that they come over as English teachers. They get married and all this, and a topic that will invariably come up one time is, "Hey, maybe we should open a school."
Sure.
Yeah, but what happens a lot is that the husband, let's just say the husband is the foreign teacher and the wife is a Japanese. Let's just use it for example. I'm not making any judgments or anything like that.
Sure.
So then the man used to be a provider, whatever English salary was, and now he's basically, they make a company, and usually the Japanese person becomes the president. And so basically now the man is now working for the wife, and couples working together doesn't always go that way. And so, but the person was a teacher, but not a businessman. The wife, she's now trying to do things like accounting and running a school and all that. And so it just, a lot of stuff they should be outsourcing, they don't.
Yeah.
And they try and and then they're bringing their work home together. And it's just, and so then it goes under and there's divorces and all that. So you just hire a professional to do the work. And then these professionals, they will save you money. So if I were to do all my accounting, it would take me so much time where I could be focusing on the money-making activities.
Well, here we are, the EFL Magazine Business Podcast, and we're saving marriages as well as giving advice. So yeah, I can totally get where you're coming from there. Fortunately for me, the thought did cross my mind as well, but my wife was like, well, I just want to work for a company. I don't want to, work for myself.
And that's why you're still married.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But yeah, that does happen. So yeah, you touched on something really important there, Peter, which is schools failing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you've mentioned, in the past while so why do schools fail in your experience?
Well, a lot of times it's almost like, think of the teacher as almost like an artist and all that. A lot of these people that are teachers don't have a business background, and they're spending all their time, God bless them, on making this unique criteria, or curriculum. Sorry. And then, but a lot of this stuff is already available. Many schools that have like a research and development department looking for new vowels and things like that. So yeah, a lot of these books and curriculum are already available, but they're spending their time making worksheets and all this when they should be out trying to do more marketing and even go to the station and pass out flyers, go to different, just different areas and just try to market themselves better.
So you think it's a lack of experience and not enough marketing, focusing on the wrong things.
Focusing on the wrong things, and one of the things that you'll see that even some of the successful schools, and actually when I take a look at the classes and the lessons, and they weren't that great. So which is kind of depressed, kind of sad in all this, because a lot of the parents or the students, they haven't been to other schools, so they really can't tell a good school from a bad one. They just know if they're having a good time or not and all this. But anyway, so it's a lot of it's the impression that you give, and a lot of the schools also they don't spend enough time in making the school look inviting and basically clean enough. So Japanese people are very clean, and so when you walk in, does it look really clean and easy, and does it pass the sniff test and all that? And so the teachers, do they have a nice, how I say, polo shirt on that and iron, or does the teacher look sloppy and all this? The image is also very important, especially in Japan. So, but yeah, I see them failing for multiples of reasons. But yeah, I just think that yeah, they don't know the business side that much, and they don't know how you say the class size, like how much they're making per class, the lifespan of a student. Not how they're going to, yeah, like how long does the student stay, how to make the classes, how you say, extend the lifespan of that, and which teachers. So basically, yeah, they're failing on the business side of it. And one thing, if you're going to start a school, there's one podcast, not podcast, but some videos and a blog site by a gentleman named Simon Moran.
Oh, I know, Simon. Yeah, I'll be talking to him soon.
Okay, yeah, it's a small industry, but no, what I like about what he does is, well, he runs a franchise, a master franchisor for a brand called Modern English and all that. But what he basically does is he's basically the back office, answering the phones and all that for a school. So, but he's very good with his discussions on how to run a school by the numbers. So I don't think, well, I use Windows on my computer, but I don't think Windows wasn't the best operating system, but they got it out and got it in all the computers.
Yes, exactly. It reminds me of the time of Sky TV in Europe, and I think in Britain at the time they were competing for a license. There was two companies. One was called BSB, British Satellite Broadcasting, and the other was Sky. It's very similar, I think, to Betamax and VHS, the format wars, isn't it? And I think the better technology lost. Yeah, both times.
Yeah. So, and it happens and all that. So, just because you offer a better class, and you have to basically make sure the students know that you're giving a better class, and basically giving a lot of attention to the parents and to the students. That's important to remind them what they're learning and how it's going to be used and all that.
So, if you're starting a school, this applies to Japan, but it can apply to other places as well. There are some big players in the market, aren't there? The big names. Does a small school stand a chance? How do you differentiate yourself? How from the bigger players?
Okay, so actually you can do it. So actually if you add up all these small independently owned schools, they have way more students than the chains do. And then because you can actually, with your independent school, you can actually specialize in different areas. And if you want a niche in all this, actually one of my clients, he has an interesting niche. The school name is called Ladies English. And he only hires female teachers because the business model is to dispatch the teachers to the homes of, I say, working mothers, not working mothers, like housewives and all this that are staying at home or other places. So maybe you can't go out to the school. Basically, it's your home delivery teacher. And so, of course, they would want some female teachers because, when the husband goes off to work, and then, a nice strapping young lad that's in his 20s is going to see Mrs. Saito every Wednesday at 2:00. Then the neighbors may talk. And so, but if you're a young mother trying to raise a family and all this, and you have young kids and you can't go out, and basically it's your but that's one example of a school. And then for the little neighborhoods that don't warrant a chain and all this, and the chains don't necessarily do it better. So they're just big and they have the advertising might. But no, if you have a very charismatic teacher or you're doing something good, you can definitely compete.
And how well, here's the big question. A lot of companies, when they come to Japan, they find the Japanese market difficult, and not just in English teaching. I mean, we can think about Boots, for example, the British pharmacy chain. We can talk about, I think Tesco even here came to Japan, left. Burger King came, left, have come back, and they've kind of downsized again. And, you know, a lot of companies find the Japanese market different. They find it more difficult than a lot of other countries to operate in.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is? What is it about the Japanese market that's difficult for companies to enter?
Well, maybe because they're trying to do it their way and not making it to the local market. So even like Burger King and Wendy's came, they left, and they came back, and all this. But no, even with Burger King, I love the burgers, but having a burger is going to cost me with fries and all that. It's going to cost a Whopper. It's going to cost me 1,000 yen. But I can go right next door and get a beef bowl for 450 yen, and it's delicious as well. So, and other things, even Subway sandwiches, the vegetables don't seem as fresh and all this. So, the Japanese have very high standards. Just even when you go to the supermarkets, the fruits and vegetables from abroad, they're the special ones. So you pay more for it, but you're getting the best stuff out there.
And anyone asks me about this, and I say, the 100 shop, the 100 yen shop, I bought products for 10 years ago, and I still have them. They still work. They haven't fallen apart. If I go to the €1, €2 shop back home, it disintegrates in your pocket on the way out of the shop. It's the quality is just for something even so cheap.
Yeah, Japan does it right, and I think there's even the mindset of just the quality mindset, and even giving good service. So just like you don't tip in Japan, but you still get above average service at any hotel or restaurant. It's just a matter of pride.
So for a business owner, for somebody starting a school in Japan, what should they look out for? You mentioned already, keep this school clean and have, friendly teachers, not disheveled looking, have everything in place. Can you give me some tips on,
Well, first, they should join some different Facebook groups. Like there's school owners forums for both ETJ, English teachers in Japan. They have an independent school owners group, as well as JALT. They have their school owners special interest group. So be sure to be a member there, and so bounce ideas off of other owners. I think it's just once you're ready to find a good location, know what you're good at, and you don't have to go big. And then, you can even start at one of the community centers, renting some space out, and then go from there. Some even just rent themselves out at the local kindergarten or something like that, and they basically are individuals just working for themselves, and then they grow it and to a point where they warrant having a company. So just give good lessons, and you can basically work for yourself, and then gradually you'll make it.
And a little bit on, I think a lot of our business culture in Europe, in Ireland over the past 20 years has come from the US. I mean, it's inescapable, really. And, when I was doing sales, you sit down with the person and you say, oh, can you give me a referral? This was something you're like, did you ask for the referral? The sales manager would ask you. Is that something you can do in Japan? Or would you openly say, well, can you refer your friends to me? Is that a little bit cheeky?
It's really not done. So even when LinkedIn first came to Japan, there were some other competitors that tried to make a Japanese version before. And LinkedIn still isn't that big with the Japanese people, because of course it's very hard to go to another Japanese and say, hey, can you introduce me to somebody else, because you have to take responsibility to who you're introducing.
Exactly.
So for that part, word of mouth is important, and it will go out there, and you kind of like ask for them to spread the word around in all this, but it's kind of hard to ask for referrals. If they like you, they'll do it. They'll brag about you. But Yeah, it's very hard. I found it very hard to get referrals that way.
So here's a big question. Here's a book, if not a number of volumes. What's a business culture, Japan, US, in a few sentences? Well, I made it easy for you, didn't I? What stands out as an American working in Japan? What did you find difficult to adjust to? What do you find better? And what do you think people should know?
Geez. So that's an easy one. Okay.
Yeah.
No, but I came over to Japan when I was just out of university. So even though I worked a little bit in the U.S., I really don't have much of a working experience in America. So I really can't say that much. Of course, I read the same business books as everybody else, but no, I worked for some very large Japanese companies, some small Japanese companies. So actually, more the Japanese working culture is more ingrained with me than the foreign ones. So even when foreigners come in and when you're working for a company, it's like, yeah, pitch the decision maker and go to the top. It often doesn't work that way because often the president will let the staff make the decision in all this, and then it will go upstream. Usually, if the president doesn't like to arbitrarily make the decision to say, no, I'm going to purchase that. So yeah, decisions are more of a consensus decision. Of course, the owner, the president has the final say, but it's a little bit more communication, cooperation.
Good point. Good point. And tell me a little bit about your site, Peter. Getting back to Jobs in Japan, I did promise we'd come back to it. So tell me about. You said that you have a number of things on your site that are. Is it new or?
No, it's well, no. So there's a design. We always are improving it. But we relaunched from when it was the Craigslisty type of free site about 4 years ago, and just keep making incremental improvements. The Japanese Kaizen, always improving things. But no, I just tried to make a site that is affordable for employers to use, and easier for job seekers. Because when I was at Career Cross and Gaijinpot, one of the things that got me is for the users, they hated making like an online resume. So you sign up for the site, and then they say, oh, thank you for signing up for our service. Please spend the next 30 minutes of your day putting all the information you have on this PDF file resume that your CV that you've already made into this online form that does not highlight your skills or abilities in the way you want to. Because people are on a smartphone anyways, and they just want to attach their resume and apply to jobs as soon as, and other things for employers and all this, but even for the job listings. Most of the job listing sites have it in like a first class, business class, coach, or like a ABC featured at the top and the peasants at the bottom and all this, where you just see the same. Featured means nothing to a job seeker other than that the employer spent more money for the job posting. So yeah, I try to do things by date by giving a little bit more benefit to the people that are spending more money, but how do I say, I treat every employer equally, but some employers are more equal than others.
Okay.
So yeah, I try and give everybody a chance, but so, and just there's other things for employers. Interviewing is a pain. It takes up so much time, and it's such a pain in the. I was going to put an expletive in there, but okay, it takes
Posterior.
up so much. Yeah. No, our site has something which is called like a first round interview, a video interview where we have all the questions are the same for everybody. It's not special to any one company, and it's to highlight your abilities and all this. It's no trick questions, but you just sign up and then you take your video interview, and then the employer can just see what you're about. So when he does contact you, you're already at the second round. And because what most of the employers hate is like they'll set up like an interview. It's like I'll set up one from 6 o'clock, one from 7 o'clock, one from 8 o'clock, and all this. And then they start, and after they go back and forth trying to schedule this, and then they get the guy at 6 o'clock, and within the first 30 seconds, it's like, oh, geez, this guy is not a fit. But then you have to give him 20 more minutes of your life, or he's going to talk bad about you on Glassdoor. Then you have to waste another 30 minutes before the next one starts, and I say rinse, lather, repeat, and all that.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically, we have a thing like you can apply to jobs with your attached file. You can make an online resume if you want to be in the resume bank. There's alerts and all that. But with this video interview system, it's like, hey, this is what I am. If you like me, let's talk. If not, then don't waste my time. But the questions are then like, why did you come to Japan? What are your strengths and things like that. It's just basic questions that you're going to get in any interview in Japan. Just about 5 questions. And then basically the interview is the employers will go and see the ones that have a video interview first, because there's no, how you say, I don't say no purchasing decision, but there's no, you're not making any promises or anything like that, because if you invite someone to an interview and then afterwards, like, what was wrong? Why don't you like me? When's the next one? And all this. So it's basically, there's no responsibility, and then you can take a look at the person. And so it saves everybody a lot of time. So we have that type of a matching service. Yeah, it's just a better mousetrap.
And it's also difficult. I mean, it's difficult to let people go, fire people, but it's also difficult to reject people, isn't it, from interview as an employer?
Yeah, and it takes so much time, and then making the right choice is so important. And seeing someone on video is well, come on. The largest search engine is YouTube after Google, and all this, instead of reading words on a paper.
And tell me a little bit about. So we talk a little bit about retention of teachers. Okay, we talked a little bit about that earlier, but a problem people have is. And it's just natural. I mean, what's happening in the world at the moment, things are very uncertain. Family members may become sick. And of course, they may become sick or die at any time. And but if you're running a small company and one of your key teachers is suddenly, is unavailable for whatever reason, what do you do?
You support them as best as you can. So if they're a good teacher, you're going to just move mountains to retain them. So, but yeah, I don't know how to, you don't, if someone has different needs and all this, you try and bend it as much as possible. Yeah, that's what I do. But
and when a teacher leaves, and sometimes teachers have to leave suddenly, people leave Japan all the time, don't they? It's they serve their time and they go home, or they move on to another country. And sometimes you get maybe 2 weeks notice, a month's notice. So how should companies prepare for this?
Well, a couple things. Well, first, if you're treating the employee well and there's good communication, they will give you as much time as they can. They're planning on not renewing their contract, they'll let you know in advance, or if they find another job. So they will be, and they'll try to, get everything ready to make the transition as painless as possible. Otherwise, the person is going to say, oh, I'm giving my 2 weeks notice, and I have a week's left of vacation days, and they're not going to do anything to help the company. But I would always be, have a job ad up and trying to get people coming in just for interviewing, because it never stops, and you're always looking for new blood and better, not new blood, but you're always looking to get the best team as possible. Make sure that your teachers can refer other teachers, and they're rewarded if they bring in an A-grade player to your organization.
And where do you see English teaching going in Japan?
When I first came to Japan, there were so many more English schools, and more people thinking, oh, I need English for business and for life and all that. Now, actually, English education is on par with, I don't want to say tennis or piano lessons. So, well, that's in part by the fact the public schools are doing a much better job of teaching English, but also that Japanese students aren't going to study abroad as much as they did before, and there doesn't seem to be this I see this feeling of crisis or that you have to learn English in order to succeed, which I think is wrong. But yeah, people aren't going there. A couple things that are happening is, unfortunately, that the bar for teacher salary continues to go down, and you're going to have like the online lessons, which are cheap, and all this, but and the kids' lessons will stay there. Eikaiwa was what happened. English Conversation School is Eikaiwa, for those that don't know, is that took a bit of a hit during the COVID situation because many of the schools went to online teaching. Because you have to keep the invoices, the tuition payments. Yeah, unless you can't close it down or you're going to starve. So they went online and they did it poorly. So while little Taro or little Johnny's taking his online lesson, teacher can't see it, but the mother is in the background off side of the camera. She's like, I'm paying $12,000, $100 a month for my kids to get this. So basically, the veil has been taken off of the inferior school, and so because this is not compulsory education, this is something they're doing on their side. And it's like, oh, we're spending all this money to take this private or group lesson for this local English school, and this is boring, and my kid's not learning anything. So it's almost like when the schools have like the bring your parent to school and they have those open class days. Of course, the schools are going to make sure they have a great lesson and everybody's engaged. But with the online lessons, it showed how some schools weren't doing so well. But no, there is still a market for it. There's a lot of consolidation in the market. But no, there's still, if you are a good teacher and you're motivated, you can make a decent living.
What we're finding with the COVID situation is, a lot of the bigger companies, Fujitsu, for example, I think Ernst & Young in Europe and the US, they've decided really to, after COVID, to allow employees to work from home at least 2-3 days. I think in case of Fujitsu, maybe they're going to close a lot of their inner city or, as you say in the States, downtown offices. So, a lot of schools in Japan, especially around the stations, a lot of let's say a lot of decision is about the distance from the train station, isn't it?
Yeah. So a lot of the metropolitan schools near the station, they're hurting because, of course, the employees aren't going to work. But this telework situation is actually good for the more rural schools, because now if you only have to go into Tokyo 2 days a week, you can live further out and all this. So I think that's going to be very good for some of the rural schools because people can telecommute now.
And so there is an opportunity there for smaller players.
There definitely is. And there has been some of the bigger chains have been closing down, branches and all this. So it has been difficult for them.
I noticed actually near where I live, maybe 2-3 minute walk, there was one of the bigger chains. I think they opened a school, around last April. And
good timing.
I know it's a nice location. It's on the highway, and there's plenty of parking, and it seemed they were doing quite well. I walking by, and there's a lot of parents there, and it's not there anymore. I mean, it's a terrible situation for them, but
it's painful for so even a lot of this small independent schools, they find it that they had to let staff go, and that's always painful as a school owner. You never want to do that, and it's just how it is right now.
So tell me a little bit about your medium long-term plans, the company. I mean, just Jobs in Japan is not just for teachers.
No, it goes all industries. So no, it's about teaching jobs, about half the jobs we have on there. It's kind of twofold because one, teaching English is one of the easiest ways to come to Japan. So that's kind of like the entry level foreigner job. And then after they learn some Japanese, then they can make a jump to, how do you say, another industry if they like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm saying English conversation teaching, because a lot of people come over, they've got their early childhood education degree or something, and they want to be teachers. Then, of course, it's easy to come to Japan and as a teacher. But a lot of foreigners find, even if they don't want to teach long term, they find it a very easy way to come to Japan and teach English conversation, almost like a work study program where they can get their Japanese and their professional network up and then make a jump to whatever it is, but IT, digital marketing, being a band, who knows? But yeah, so it's that's why the English conversation jobs are so big on our site. And even ALT jobs, they don't pay as much to really make a career out of it. So the wage is not, when you're in your 20s and making 250,000 yen a month or something like that, that's okay. But when you're 40 and making that, that's that's not going to make it. So it's kind of an easy entry, and also there is a relatively high turnover rate because people will only be staying 1, 2, or 3 years in a job, where it's very different because if you get your a job as an accountant, you might be staying with that company for the next 20 years. So, but the other ones are, so English teaching is the main part, and then we have jobs in from marketing, food and beverage. Well, there were more food and beverage before COVID. So I say hotel, restaurant, IT, all industries, but they're all foreigner-friendly jobs.
Okay. And how about your company? Where do you go next with JobsinJapan.com?
I just want to grow and be a better source for foreigners. So it's founded by foreigners, for foreigners, and have foreigner-friendly jobs. But I just want to make the job search situation for both the job seeker and the employer a better experience, almost like shopping for a better life or shopping for a better staff for your company. Like when you go shopping, that's all fun. But when you're finding staff, it's like, oh, this is a pain.
So you want to take the hassle factor, the pain out.
I just want to make it a better experience for everyone. And continue to grow and try and be more inclusive for other nationalities and all.
So actually, while we're on that, that's a talking point, globally, and of course in ELT as well. So tell me a little bit about inclusion, and there's often said in the ELT industry that there's a bias towards native speakers. I mean, what's your take on that, and specifically with Japan in mind?
I am very I give these seminars for job seekers all the time, and the people that I want to help most are the non-native, highly fluent English speakers, because they're getting a bad lot. Because at the end of the day, teaching English for most of the schools, not for public schools, at the English conversation schools and for some others, it's a business. And then the packaging, of course, they want so I got my job because I have I'm a Caucasian, blue-eyed with brownish blonde hair. So yeah, of course, that was an easy thing for an English school to hire me, even though I had no skills whatsoever, which is wrong. So I want to help those people out more. But one case, I was at a international school last year, and I was looking at their after-school program. And in the one class, they had 3 lady teachers. One was a Filipino and 2 Caucasian ladies. Could be American, Canadian, British, whatever. But the 2 Caucasian ladies looked like they wanted to throw themselves in front of traffic, where the Filipino teacher was dancing, singing, engaging with the students. So a lot of the people from the non-native speaking countries, they've learned English as a second language, and they basically work a little bit harder. So I've never had I'm putting Filipinos out there, but I've never had a Filipino teacher call in sick with a hangover or complain about the contract and all that. So they're doing very well that way. So I think there is a bias to hiring the Caucasian teacher because that's the image that the school wants to give, that, oh, we're international, where if they were actually international, they would be having teachers from every single nationality, that as long as the teacher was a good teacher. It's completely unfair, but it's one of the biases that in Japanese mind, if you're an English speaker, you're Caucasian. Yeah.
And is that, you think, in the Japanese, the client themselves, the student, that's what they want, or is the student encouraging it, or is it a tango situation here that it's?
I'm thinking for the first 5 minutes, I'm thinking the student, just because what they've seen on TV and all that, probably expecting the the Caucasian. But once they start speaking to somebody like the Jamaican teacher, who's also a native speaker, it's like, wow. And then their eyes get opened up more, and it's even a better experience. Yeah, it's the bias, and because that's what it's been packaged as.
It's been really interesting. Peter, thank you very much for your time today. It's been fascinating, enlightening. We know each other well, so but I always learn something new when I speak to you, Peter. You're a fountain of knowledge. And
you're kind.
Just to let everybody know again, Peter's site is JobsinJapan.com. And Peter, is there, in case our listeners might want to get in contact with you, for their staffing needs, or what's the best way to contact you?
Okay, two ways. So if if you're a job seeker, maybe you're a teacher and you're having trouble with your job search and all this, and you're just wondering, what am I doing wrong? Then just send me an email at peter@JobsinJapan.com, and I'll take a look. I'm not going to rewrite. I don't have the time to rewrite people's resumes, but I could give it a once over and say, this is what you're doing wrong. So the one guy that I took a look at the other day, he says, look, I have 15 years experience. And I looked at the resume and say, no, according to your resume, it looks like you have 6 months experience, which you've been using for 15 years. So you haven't shown any progression, or it's not showing on the CV, all the other responsibilities you've been taking. So if you need help with that, if you're wondering about opening up a school, I have schools that are selling on my site all the time. Just people that just want to cash out, or they just want to go back to their countries and all that. And if you want to hire somebody, I'm more than happy to help with writing a good job description, because most of the job descriptions people put online are top-down internal documents. I want this, we demand this, and instead of like appealing to the why someone would want to work for your school. So if you have any questions, just let me know. I'm more than happy to. I might not be able to reply that day or immediately, but if someone sends me a personal email, peter@JobsinJapan.com, with a decent question, I'm more than happy to respond.
That's great. That's very generous. And actually, you brought up something there about selling a school. We don't have time today, but I think it'll be a future feature on the EFL Magazine Business Podcast. We'll be doing a feature on selling your school,
starting selling. I think there's a market for it, because there's very little. There's not enough support. But there's some groups, but I think there's a definite market, and for people that are not sure and all this, and even taking over a school that's semi-established. Hey, that's what I did with Jobs in Japan. I took over a site that was semi-established, and I made it into a major player. You can do the same thing with a school.
Okay, well, Peter, thanks. Thank you very much again. And just one more reminder for everybody. It's Peter@JobsinJapan.com, and Peter's site is www.jobsinjapan.com. Peter Lackner, thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to the EFL Magazine Business Podcast with Philip Pound. For more great advice and resources, check out EFLmagazine.com. If you found this podcast helpful, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. See you next time.